What if a man who had sworn his heart dead suddenly found two strangers at his door, one carrying a child, the other carrying a secret that could change his life forever? The first light of dawn crept across the snow-covered slopes of the Colorado Rockies, painting the peaks in soft rose and pale gold. Samuel Creek stood in the doorway of his cabin, the steam from his tin cup of coffee rising into the cold air. His morning ritual had not changed in 15 years, not since the fever took Sarah and little Emma in '68. At 42, Samuel looked like a man carved out of the mountains themselves. Broad shoulders, rough hands, a dark beard streaked with gray, and deep lines around his eyes from years of squinting against wind and sun. But nothing aged him more than the emptiness in his eyes, the kind that only a man who had survived great love and great loss could carry. He walked toward the small lean-to where his horses waited. "Morning, Buck," he muttered, running a hand over the bay gelding's warm neck. The horse nickered softly, breath fogging the air. Animals had been Samuel's only companions for years. They didn't ask questions, they didn't leave, they didn't die in his arms. Inside the cabin, he worked with quiet, practiced motions, checked the rifle, examined the trap lines on his hand-drawn map, stacked wood by the fireplace. Every task served survival, nothing more. His fingers brushed the leather cord around his neck. Sarah's wedding ring hung from it, catching the weak morning light. He closed his hand around the gold. Sarah had been buried with his ring, and he had worn hers ever since. A vow, a promise, a wound that never healed. His food stores were running low again. Salt pork, dried beans, hardtack. Enough to live on, not enough to make living worthwhile. Winter would close the trails soon. The silence in the cabin would grow heavier, thicker, almost alive. Some nights it pressed against his skull so hard he wondered if he still had a voice. Then a thought came to him, not for companionship. Samuel Creek had no use for that, but for help. Someone to tend the fire, stretch the food, keep the cabin while he ran his trap lines. A practical arrangement. Strictly business. No more, no less. He spent 3 long days writing the advertisement, cutting each sentence down till it felt safe enough to send out into the world. Mountain man seeks cook, remote cabin. Hard work, fair wages, must be self-sufficient. No questions asked, none answered. Reply to S. Creek, care of Rocky Mountain News. The ride to Rabbit Creek tested his resolve. People stared like they always did. "There goes Sam Creek," they whispered. "Lost his mind when he lost his family. Lives like a ghost up on that mountain." He ignored them, dropped off the advertisement, bought supplies, and fled back to the safety of solitude. 2 weeks passed. Then one afternoon, Marcus Stone's young nephew climbed up the trail with a letter pressed to his chest. "F for you, Mr. Creek," the boy said before riding off fast, clearly afraid of the mountain hermit. Samuel opened the letter slowly. "Mr. Creek, your advertisement interests me. I can cook, clean, mend, and maintain a household. I am accustomed to hard work and isolation. I ask no questions and expect the same courtesy. If these terms suit you, I can arrive by month's end. Respectfully, M. Walsh. Short, clear, no nonsense, just how Samuel liked it. Probably an older camp cook, he told himself. Maybe a former army man. Someone who understood the arrangement. He wrote back accepting the terms, marked a safe path up the mountain, and spent the next weeks preparing. The small addition he'd planned for years became urgent now. He cut logs, notched them, built a separate room with its own entrance, cleaned the cabin for the first time in years. But he could not make himself touch Sarah's rocking chair or move the little wooden horse he had carved for Emma. Some things hurt too much to disturb. The morning of M. Walsh's arrival came with the first real snow of the season. Samuel kept telling himself it was only business, but he found himself washing his face, trimming his beard, glancing at the trail every few minutes. Late afternoon shadows grew long across settling snow when he finally heard it. Hoofbeats, heavy breathing of tired animals, the creak of leather under too much weight. He set down his axe and stepped outside. 3 horses came up the trail, one rider in front, a second smaller rider behind, a pack horse trailing. The front rider lifted her head. A woman, a young woman. Her dark hair was pinned back in a simple bun, her cloak heavy with snow. Even from a distance, he saw the swell of her belly, 6, maybe 7 months along. Behind her, a boy rode a smaller horse, eyes wide and bright. Samuel's world jolted off balance. She stopped 20 feet away. Snowflakes clung to her lashes. Her voice carried in the cold air, steady and calm. "Mr. Creek, I'm Mary Walsh, and this is my nephew, Daniel." The boy raised a mittened hand. "Hello, sir." Samuel blinked. Once, twice. I posted for a cook," he managed. "A cook, but you're—" "A pregnant woman with a child," she finished for him, chin lifting. "Your advertisement said no questions asked, none answered. Has that changed?" Quote. He looked at her, really looked now, her knuckles white from gripping the reins, the boy shivering hard but trying to hide it, their pack horse carrying everything they owned in the world. Whatever story they carried, it was heavy. "Stables are this way," Samuel said finally. "We'll sort it out inside." Daniel slid off his horse before Samuel could help, trying his best to appear capable. "I can do horses, sir. Uncle Patrick taught me." Samuel stored that name, Patrick, away for later. He helped Mary down. When her legs nearly buckled, he caught her by the waist. She weighed far less than she should. Too many miles, too little food, too much fear. Inside the cabin, she looked around quietly while snow melted off their clothes. The small space felt smaller than ever. "The lean-to is yours," Samuel said gruffly. "Private entrance. I'll move your things." She nodded, exhaustion flickering in her eyes. By supper, she had worked a miracle. Found his salt pork, made stew, cleaned surfaces, set plates, brewed coffee, brought life back into a cabin that had forgotten the sound of a woman's footsteps. When Daniel finally fell asleep at the table, Samuel carried him to the new room. The boy was light as a bird, too light. Later, as Mary sat across from Samuel by firelight, he studied her features. Strong jaw, tired eyes, shoulders that looked too small to carry whatever burden she bore. "You're not what I expected," he said. "Nor are you." She answered quietly. He hesitated before asking, "Can you do the work?" "Yes," she said, "I can." "In your condition?" he pressed. "I've been doing it so far," she said simply. "I'll manage." The fire crackled, snow thickened outside, and 3 souls sat together in the fragile warmth, each running from something, each afraid to say what. A storm had brought them together. But another, far greater storm was coming, and none of them knew yet how deeply their lives would become tied. What if the strangers you took into your home weren't just running from the cold, but from a danger that had hunted them across counties, across towns, across miles of fear? The storm arrived before sunrise, thick, heavy snow that swallowed the world in white. Samuel Creek stepped outside to check the chimney, the cold biting his face. Behind him, through the frosted cabin window, he saw Mary moving slowly around the stove, her hand pressed to her back as she stirred the morning porridge. Daniel crouched beside Buck and Belle in the lean-to, whispering to them like old friends. 2 days under the same roof, and the place already felt different, less grave, less hollow. But Samuel didn't trust feelings. Feelings had betrayed him before. He walked back inside, brushing snow from his coat. "Storm's gathering hard," he said. Mary nodded, but her face tightened with something more than weather. "Storms don't frighten me," she said quietly. "Men do." Samuel paused, studying her. "Someone after you?" Her eyes didn't flinch. "No questions asked, Mr. Creek." That was the agreement. "Storm changes things," he said. "Mountains change things. Anybody comes up this far, they're not coming by accident." Daniel looked up from tying his boots. His face went pale. "Ma," he stopped himself. "Aunt Mary, he won't find us up here, right?" Samuel's jaw tightened. There it was. Fear, real fear. The kind that didn't come from snow or hunger. Mary's spoon froze mid-motion. "Eat your breakfast, Daniel." but Samuel saw her hand shaking. The boy swallowed hard. "I'll help with chores. I can—" "You'll help me with the horses," Samuel said. "That's enough." Mary shot him a quick look, thankful, relieved. Outside, the storm thickened to a wall of white. Wind tore through pine trees. Snow stung like needles. Daniel trudged beside Samuel, small boots sinking deep. "You ever seen a storm like this?" Daniel asked. "Seen worse," Samuel said. "Mountains have their own mind. Teach you patience. Teach you respect." Daniel nodded, soaking in every word. That boy, Samuel realized, wasn't just eager. He was hungry. Hungry for knowledge, for safety, for a father he never had. Inside the stable, Samuel showed him how to check hooves, fix loose boards, test knots. Daniel listened with fierce focus. "My Uncle Patrick was supposed to teach me," the boy said quietly. "But he got sick. Before he—" His voice broke. He wiped his eyes quickly, pretending it was the wind. Samuel's chest tightened. Loss recognized loss. "We'll work on it together," Samuel said. "Mountains got plenty to teach." The boy looked up, hope shining through fear. "Really?" Samuel nodded. "Really?" When they came back in, Mary was sweeping the floor. She looked tired, tired in a way that went deeper than her body. But when she saw Daniel smiling, her shoulders eased. "You're soaked," she said. "Both of you. Sit by the fire." Daniel obeyed instantly, holding his hands to the flames. Samuel noticed how Mary's eyes lingered on the boy, protective, watchful, always scanning him for cold, hunger, or danger. That kind of fear didn't come from nothing. The storm raged for 3 straight days. Winds screamed through the cracks, snow piled higher than the windows. They stuffed blankets around the doors, checked wood stacks, cooked hearty meals, and tried to keep the cold from claiming the cabin. But the bigger battle was inside. On the second night, while Daniel slept in the lean-to room, Mary sat in Sarah's old rocking chair, her face pale as the snow outside. Samuel had been carving a piece of pine when he noticed her flinch. "You hurting?" he asked. Mary pressed a hand to her side. "Just tired. Baby is sitting low." Samuel watched her for a moment. Her breathing came too shallow, too fast. "You need rest," he said. She looked toward the lean-to where Daniel slept. "He needs rest more. He's growing. Samuel cut her off gently. "You can't take care of him if you fall over doing it." Her eyes flashed with stubbornness, but a moment later, she sagged back into the chair. "I'm used to doing everything myself," she whispered. "Every mile from Denver to here, it was all on me." "You're not alone anymore," Samuel said quietly. Silence hung between them, thick, warm, unfamiliar. After a long moment, Mary's eyes softened. "Thank you for helping him, for helping us." Samuel shifted, uncomfortable with gratitude. "Just practical," he muttered. "Storm like this, nobody survives alone." But Mary looked at him like she saw straight through him. Later that night, as firelight flickered across the cabin walls, Daniel tossed in his sleep. A whimper slipped out, fear wrapped in a child's voice. Mary kissed Sarah Grace's small wooden horse on the mantel before stepping into Daniel's room. But Samuel got there first. He knelt beside the boy. "Dreams?" he asked softly. Daniel nodded, eyes shining with tears he tried to hide. "It was him," he whispered. "He was yelling again, saying I belonged to him, saying Ma, Aunt Mary, was nothing." Samuel's jaw clenched, hard. Nobody talked that way to a woman like Mary. Nobody threatened a child in his house. "You're safe," Samuel said. "You're safe here. He won't get through me." Daniel looked at him, small and terrified and hopeful. "Promise." Samuel placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "I promise." And he meant it. When Samuel stepped back into the main room, Mary was standing in the shadows. Tears glimmered on her cheeks. "You didn't ask," she whispered. "You didn't offer," Samuel replied, "so why help us?" He swallowed hard, looked away, because the world's full of men who take. Someone's got to stand for the ones they go after. Mary's breath shook. "He'll come, you know. Jeremiah Walsh. "He always comes." "I know," Samuel said. "And you'll be risking your life," she whispered. "Already did that when I let you stay." Mary's eyes filled again, but this time not with fear, with something deeper, something warmer. The storm broke on the fourth morning, leaving the world wrapped in quiet white. Samuel stepped outside, breathing in the clean, sharp air. Smoke curled from the chimney. Coffee brewed inside. Daniel's laughter floated from the stable. And Mary, strong, stubborn, brave Mary, moved slowly through the cabin, one hand on her growing belly, filling the place with life. Samuel Creek had posted for a cook, but destiny had sent him something else, something dangerous, something fragile, something miraculous. A family. He just didn't know yet that the danger hunting Mary and Daniel was already on the mountain trail, and that the quiet days inside that cabin were numbered. What if the past you thought you'd outrun suddenly arrived at your door, with the law behind it, a frightened child beside you, and a woman who trusted you with her life? The storm had ended, but danger had not. 3 days after the snow cleared, Samuel Creek spotted tracks in the lower trail, not the prints of elk or wandering trappers. These were different, neat, controlled, purposeful. 5 horses, heavy riders, coming from the valley, coming toward his cabin. He didn't tell Mary immediately, but she knew. A woman running for her life always knew when her past was closing in. That morning, Samuel sent up 3 thick columns of smoke from a green pine bough. Mountain code. A message older than any town law. Witnesses needed. Trouble coming. By noon, help arrived. Tom Henderson and his sons rode up first. Then Marcus Stone with 2 men from the trading post. Then 2 old mountain hands who never ignored a smoke signal. They didn't ask questions. Samuel didn't offer explanations. They surrounded the cabin, forming a quiet ring of strength. Inside, Mary paced slowly, one hand on her back, the other on her belly. She was close, too close, for danger. "You should rest," Samuel told her. "I can't," she whispered. "Is it him?" "Riders," Samuel said. 5, not sure who." Daniel looked up from helping Ruth Henderson warm baby clothes by the fire. "If it's him," he said, his voice shaking, "I'm not going." Mary's voice softened. "You're not alone this time, sweetheart." Samuel returned from the window. "They're here." The riders came into view, Marshal Bradley at the front, snow dusting his coat. 2 deputies rode behind him, and between them, Jeremiah Walsh, a man dressed in expensive wool, riding a fine horse, eyes sharp with possession and anger. He was not alone. A hired gun rode on his left. On his right rode a young woman with pale skin and trembling hands. Catherine Walsh, Jeremiah's daughter. The riders stopped in Samuel's yard. Mary stepped onto the porch, her belly heavy, her chin steady, her eyes locked on the man who had chased her across counties. "I see you finally arrived," she said. "That boy is mine," Jeremiah Walsh shouted. "The court says so." "The court," Mary replied calmly, "never met you." Bradley dismounted. "Mrs. Walsh, Miss Catherine has offered new testimony." "It changes things." Catherine nudged her horse forward. Her voice trembled, but her words were bold. "I came to tell the truth. My father wants Daniel because he wants money, the trust, every dollar he stole. He needs the child to hide his debts." Jeremiah's face purpled. "You lying girl." A gun cocked. Samuel had drawn so fast nobody saw him move. "You raise your voice one more time," Samuel said quietly, "and you'll be eating snow for supper." Bradley raised a hand. "Samuel, easy. Let us handle it." "No," Samuel answered. "This is my land, my house, my family." The word slipped out before he could stop it. "Family." Mary's breath caught. Her eyes glistened. Daniel stepped closer to Samuel as if the word had pulled him there. The hired gun shifted. "Boss," he said to Jeremiah, "this ain't a friendly spot. Whole mountain's watching." Jeremiah ignored him. "Mary, you stole him. You ran off with my nephew." "I saved him," Mary answered. "From you." Daniel trembled but stepped forward. "I'm not going with you," he said. "You hit my mama. I remember. You—" "Quiet, boy," Jeremiah snapped. Samuel moved so fast the snow lifted beneath his boots. He stepped between them, towering, calm, deadly. "You address him like that again," he warned, "and your next words will come through broken teeth." Marshal Bradley cleared his throat. "Judge Peeton is waiting for testimony. Catherine, if you've got evidence—" "I do," she said, pulling out a leather folder. "Father forged signatures. Stole from the trust. Threatened Daniel's mother. He even—" Jeremiah snapped. He reached for his gun, but he was too slow. Samuel kicked the weapon from his hand. Marcus Stone fired a warning shot into the snow. The hired gun froze under two rifles pointed at his skull. Bradley drew and leveled his badge-backed authority. It was over before it started. Jeremiah Walsh was arrested beside Samuel's cabin with half the mountain watching. But inside, something far more important was happening. Mary gasped and doubled over. "The baby," she whispered. "Samuel, it's time." Panic shot through Samuel like lightning. "Ruth!" he barked. Ruth Henderson grabbed blankets and boiling water. Catherine rushed forward, her fear replaced by courage. Daniel clung to Mary's hand as they rushed her into the cabin. Outside, Bradley hauled Jeremiah away. Snow churned under horse hooves. Mountain men shouted orders. The law rode off. Inside, Mary screamed in pain. Samuel had faced wolves, storms, winter starvation. Nothing terrified him like hearing Mary cry out. He knelt beside her, letting her grip his hands till his knuckles went white. Catherine coached her breathing. Ruth gave orders. "You stay right here," Mary gasped. "Don't you dare leave me." "I'm not going anywhere," Samuel said. "Not now. Not ever." Hours passed. Then, a cry, thin, fierce, alive. Ruth lifted a tiny bundle wrapped in cloth. "A girl," she whispered, "early but strong." Quote. Mary sobbed with relief. Samuel felt something inside him break open. A dam he thought had frozen years ago. Daniel crept closer, eyes shining. "She's beautiful." Mary looked at Samuel through tears. "Her name is Sarah Grace." Samuel's breath caught. His heart twisted painfully, but Mary reached for his hand. "For your Sarah," she whispered, "and for the grace that brought us here." He bowed his head, not in grief, in gratitude. Hours later, when the house was quiet and the baby slept against Mary's chest, Samuel stepped onto the porch. The mountain air was cold, clear, clean. He closed his eyes. He had posted for a cook. Instead, he had been given a family, a woman with courage stronger than winter, a boy who needed a father, a baby named after the two souls who taught him how to love. And when Mary stepped outside, leaning against him for warmth, Samuel put an arm around her and spoke the truth he had kept buried for 15 years. "You taught me how to live again," he murmured. Mary smiled softly. "And you taught us how to feel safe again." Daniel poked his head out the door. "Pa, baby Sarah is crying. She wants you." "Pa," the word hit Samuel like a sunrise, warm, healing, new. He took one last breath of mountain air, touched Mary's cheek, and walked inside to his family. His home, his second chance, where love, long buried under snow and silence, burned bright again.